And I can't tell you, I won't do it justice, but in that moment, I didn't know I needed to hear that. He wasn't making the connection. He certainly wasn't trying to be a parent. But he wasn't making the connection that I didn't have my parents around me anymore, that might have been those kind of voices in my life. And at that moment, but when he went out of his way to acknowledge it and then tell me, hey, Jason, I'm proud of you. There's power in someone believing in you.
Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced. The best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hello, everyone. It's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat podcast, wherever you are listening to this or however you're coming to this. Glad you're here. Thanks for taking the time. The purpose of this is to help all of us navigate our way through the world. And my hope with this always is that the content is going to engage your mind and your heart and help you navigate your way through everything that you're experiencing in your life and in your work, your career, and move forward in positive ways. This is a place, this time that you're giving yourself, whether you're on a walk, a commute, wherever you're listening to this is a time and a place for you to step back, to think, to make sure that you're giving yourself time to then think about filling yourself with positive thoughts about how you're going to move yourself forward. I'm more convinced of this than ever that the world today needs authentic leaders, people that are able to show up and to connect with people and to be a part of creating compelling cultures in the world. That's needed more than ever in the world. So thank you for listening to this. I hope this is a small, valuable contribution to your day and to your life. So thanks to everyone out there who's listening. As always, thank you for everybody who subscribes, who listens, who shares this podcast. Of course, if you're able and willing to rate it 5 stars and leave a good review, all of those things help amplify these messages further out into the world. And so I'm very grateful for everybody who takes the time to do that. Thank you so much. People, human beings, their collective minds and hearts are the lifeblood of every culture, every team, every community, and every organization on the planet. People are our resource engine. Human beings, their collective minds and hearts, they are the lifeblood. We are the lifeblood of every culture, of every team, every community, every organization on the planet. People are our resource engine. And growing and developing and supporting people infuses energy and passion into every culture. And yet we know with everything that's swirling around us in the world today, there's been so much concern, obviously, about global health. There's been political and economic uncertainty. There's been worry about schooling for kids. There's been civil unrest and social justice and all of these things that things have been heavy for so many people within our organizations, our teams, our cultures, and, of course, our world, that people have been carrying a lot. The CDC reported just recently a study that they did that in the month of June alone, 11% of adults in the United States had considered suicide. 11%. I have no idea how they came up with that figure, but that's an amazing number if that's true of people, thankfully, that haven't committed suicide but have considered it. And in the midst of the pandemic and all the weight, the heavy things that people are carrying, that that is an enormous statistic, and realizing, showing us that people are needing support and care from the people around us. Another study I saw is that divorce rates are in the months of March, April, May, and June for 2020 are up 34% over previous years, up 34%. So what does this tell us? And I'm not. The purpose of this is not to make us sad or feel to be a downer. But the reality is, if we're going to be truthful about the world that we're in right now, where so much is changing, the reality that we need to come to as people, as human beings first, but certainly for the teams and organizations that we serve, is that people are carrying a lot of baggage right now. And so I know with the teams and organizations that I serve and that I support in the efforts to help develop leaders, to raise the level of leadership within their organization, to help teams and organizations proactively shape the culture that they're trying to create in the future, and clarity around mission, vision, and values. I know some of the most significant efforts that we've made recently and are going to continue to make is creating time and space for teams and human beings, because we spend so much of our daily lives at work or focused on work, our careers, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, we're focused in that arena, that these are the spaces that become enormously important, and there's enormous opportunity to help people step back, to share how they're feeling, and to make sense of all this tough stuff in the world, but ultimately to help people then move forward, and to help support people, to care for people, to connect with your team and organization, and then ultimately get to a place where every team and organization that I'm working with, that we're helping them get to, is also, how are we going to carry the weight of the things that we're experiencing right now? And at the same time, how are we going to think about what is the culture that we want to create with each other, of not just what we do, but how we're going to do it as we navigate our way through all of these things in the world that are seemingly out of our control. What is within our control, and how are we going to be committed to still the work that we have to get done? How are we going to try to be as effective and productive as we possibly can, and how can we bring out the best in each other and have our teams and organizations help us navigate through this and actually come out of this so that we are thriving or are coming through this better than those that aren't creating spaces where their people feel listened to, valued, appreciated, connected. Those places that are experiencing disconnection and divisiveness are the ones that then their cultures are going to really suffer as we continue to move through everything that we're experiencing in the world. So I'm more convinced of this than ever. The best teams and organizations are the ones that are proactively saying, how can we continue to support and shape this culture as we move through? If you remember me saying that we're in the midst of a marathon, not a sprint, to continue to take the opportunity to care for people. And so as I think about this, even before pandemics and all the other stuff that we're experiencing in the world right now, there are four statements that I believe every team member needs to hear along the way. No matter what team or organization, or even in your family, every group of people on the planet, every team member needs to, at some point along the journey, hear these four statements. The first one is, hello all podcast listeners, it's Jason Barger here, and I wanted to share some exciting new news about an upcoming virtual event on November 6th, 2020. November 6th, 2020. As you know, it's never been more important to develop our minds and hearts on what authentic leadership in the world looks like, authentic leadership in the world, and the role we all play in creating compelling cultures. And so many of you know that for the last few years, leaders from across industries have joined me and other thought leaders from around the globe for my event, my in-person intimate event, Thermostat Cultures Live. People like Howard Behar, former president of Starbucks, founder of Jenny's Ice Cream, Jenny Britton Bauer, Shane Battier, NBA legend, Jessica Jackley, one of the co-founders of Kiva, Cameron Mitchell from Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, Greg Oden, former #1 NBA draft pick. All of these amazing people and many more have joined me in the past. It's been a powerful, inspiring, action-oriented, and solutions-focused experience that has impacted so many teams and organizations near and far. Well, this year, the exciting announcement that I'm sharing with you, this year, Thermostat Cultures Live will be a powerful and interactive virtual event. A virtual event that will reach further and impact more individuals and organizations. So I invite you to experience it as an individual or as an entire team or company. I know many teams and companies that are going to gather together and experience it virtually so that they can carry these important conversations and learnings into their culture. Please visit thermostatcultureslive.com, thermostatcultureslive.com to register you and your team, and I hope you'll join me in setting the temperature for authentic leadership and compelling cultures that we need right now on our teams, in our organizations, and in our world. Every team member needs to, at some point along the journey, hear these 4 statements. The first one is, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. And think about the people and the teams and organizations that you're a part of. When someone has said, I'm proud of you, the energy and the validation and the appreciation that brings to you. I still remember in the last couple of years a moment when one of my mentors, Howard Behar, who you've heard me talk about on this podcast, somebody who's had an enormous impact on my life. Howard Behar, the former president of Starbucks, when Starbucks was only a few stores, nobody outside of Seattle knew anything about Starbucks, and then he and his team, as the president of Starbucks and eventually Starbucks International, built them from a few stores to 15,000 stores around the globe. And I remember, and if you know that about Howard, and anybody who's had a chance to talk or know Howard, you know that that's his title, that's his experience. He's got a wealth of experience and knowledge, but who he is as a human, as a person, as a mentor, as an advisor, is what is so significant about him. And I remember over the last few years, in the midst of, if you've been a listener of this podcast or you know me or have a connection to me, then you know that in the last 5 years, I've lost both of my parents, that I've gone through, a very challenging times where both my parents passed away. And I remember at a significant point along the way, just a couple of, maybe even a year or so after they had passed, that Howard, not even referencing about my parents or anything, but on one of our conference calls where we were catching up and connecting, and he certainly was encouraging me, he said to me, "Hey, Jason, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, and I think it's amazing everything you've done and what you're doing in the world." And I can't tell you, I won't do it justice, but in that moment, I didn't know I needed to hear that. He wasn't making the connection. He certainly wasn't trying to be a parent, but he wasn't making the connection that I didn't have my parents around me anymore, that might have been those kind of voices in my life. And at that moment, but when he went out of his way to acknowledge it and then tell me, "Hey, Jason, I'm proud of you," there's power in someone believing in you, acknowledging you, supporting you. You as you. Not even because you've necessarily done anything, although Howard was naming these things that he was really proud of that I'd done, and more importantly, how I had done things. But what he was celebrating is, I'm celebrating you as a human, who you are before you've done anything. I'm proud of you as a person, right the way you are, and the contributions that you've made in the past. So when you think about our teams and organizations, a statement that every human on the planet needs to hear at some point along the way is, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you as you." The other statement that I think about is, we need to hear, "I believe in you. I believe in you." The power in someone that says, I believe in you and your future. I know you have great days ahead of you. You have gifts. You have strengths. You have uniqueness. And I believe in you and all that you're going to be and certainly do in the world. We need to let people know on our teams and our organizations that I'm proud of you and that I believe in you. And then we've earned the right to be able to say, at the right time, in a team member or a person in our lives, the power of a statement to say, I believe you're capable of more. I know you're capable of more. Because some of our best learning, some of our best development, some of the best support that I, certainly in my life, but we as humans, that we ever hear is when a trusted mentor or a friend, a family member, somebody on our team reminds us when we're not bringing our best. Because all of us are human. All of us are imperfect. All of us, even in the midst of the great things we accomplish and somebody being proud of you and believing in you, there are moments in all of our lives and work for sure when we don't bring our best. And the best mentors and coaches and team members are the ones that are able to say, hey, in this situation, I know you're capable of more, that you're not bringing your best. And when they see that we've fallen short, temporarily, but they remind us that you're capable of more, and they're not afraid to say it, because they know, and you know as the one receiving that message, that they're not throwing a dart at you, they're not just trying to put holes in you or point out weaknesses or flaws or trying to make you feel bad. The very best coaches aren't just doing it to yell and to scream and to get at you, but the best coaches are the ones that are able and have earned the right to be able to say to you, I know you're capable of more because I'm proud of you, I believe in you, and I know this wasn't your best. And then the fourth statement is, I will support you. I will support you. I will support your own development and your growth on this journey. Every single team member needs to know you are with them through their failures and their successes. You'll help coach, you'll help support, and you're going to also help them practice along their side. That doesn't mean you're going to do things for them, but the very best teams, the very best coaches, the very best mentors, friends, relationships in the world are the ones that say, I'm going to support you even in the midst of your failures and your successes. And together, we're going to practice. We're going to develop. We're going to support each other so that we can grow and try to bring the best of ourselves to the surface. These aren't the only statements that people in our lives and on our teams need to hear. These certainly aren't the only ones, but these are the ones they need to hear for sure along the way for their development. I'm proud of you. I believe in you. You're capable of more, and I will support you. We all need these statements, especially in 2020. We all need to hear them and feel connected and supported by the people around us. We all need support. We all need mentors. We all need partners to walk with us and practice with us. So as always, here are some questions for us to ponder for this day and for this week. Who has been a positive mentor, coach, or relationship in your life and work? Who's been somebody who's been a positive mentor, coach, or relationship in your life and work? Who in your life and work needs to hear these statements from you? Who in your life and work needs to hear, I'm proud of you, I believe in you, you're capable of more, and I will support you? In what ways can you share these statements with your team over time. Not just one time, but over time. Remember, people are our heartbeat, our resource engine. People are our heartbeat, our resource engine. They need to hear from us and feel our support.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using. And share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to your organization, or you have a question or comment about this podcast, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we all are ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.